There are 4 lights. I'm Danielle Metz.
I'm Robert Vaughn.
And this is the Danielle Metz Show. Sorry, Robert. Quote, if you're 3 years old and you're feeling a certain way, or you think you're a boy or girl, or whatever the case may be, I just think it's dangerous as a parent to make this determination then. Actor Mario Lopez told Candace Owens in an interview on the Candace Owens Show, published June 23rd, 19. Cue the outrage mob in 3, 2, 1. Quote, Mario Lopez's comments about transgender kids aren't just dumb, they're dangerous. Opined an NBC article by Chase Strangio, a trans activist. Can't make this stuff up. He went on to assert that because Mr. Lopez was just a guy who recites celebrity gossip off a teleprompter, he had no right to express an opinion that any sane human adult should hold. As Mario Lopez himself pointed out in the same interview, quote, unfortunately, I think if you suffer consequences in this business if you don't fall in line. So, fall in line he did. Quote, the comments I made were ignorant and insensitive, and now I have a deeper understanding of how hurtful they were. I have been and always will be an ardent supporter of the LGBTQ community, and I am going to use this opportunity to better educate myself moving forward and will be more informed and thoughtful. Educate yourself on what exactly, Mr. Lopez? And what exactly was incorrect in what you said? The absolute denial of reality is reaching frightening heights, and the forced mea culpas by anyone who expresses wrongthink and has any position of prominence is disgusting. Where's the courage, Robert, to stand by what not only isn't just an opinion, but is basic reality? Who's going to stand up and say, there are 4 lights?
Well, you're referencing, of course, Star Trek Next Generation, where Picard was being tortured by the Cardassians. And
Not to be confused with the Kardashians.
Though they look like. There were 3 lights.
And they're just as torturous.
And they forcing him to say there were 4.
No, there's 4 lights, but they were trying to get him to say there were 5, I believe.
Oh, 5, was it? Yeah. So, you're more of a trekker than I am. So, but the point being is that there's a reality, and then there's torture and indoctrination and propaganda out there, which would tend to make some people think that there are 5 lights when there are 4. The same case with transgenderism. You get people, men, for example, saying they're women, and you're supposed to, in Canada at least by law, with Bill C-16, say that they're women, force you to say they're women when they're not. They're men saying that they're women, or hoping that they're women, or thinking that they're women, or praying that they're women, fantasizing that they're women. But they're not. There are 4 lights? Yeah, 4 lights. So, and Mr. Lopez, of course, we did this before in another show. You never apologize. As soon as you apologize, you're dead. You're gone.
Yeah, and they actually went on to say that the fact that he apologized meant that he knew what he said was wrong. And that's exactly what they do. They go, as soon as you say, yeah. And he said it in such a nice way about, oh, I believe, loving parents and, you take your kid to blah, blah. And his biggest mistake is, A, he's conservative and he's in Hollywood. He's a Christian, a Catholic, yep, and in Hollywood. And he believes in family and faith and foundation thereof. So therefore, because he believes in what is normal and sees things that are actually in reality, he has to be abused. And he apparently is working for Access Hollywood or some some entertainment thing. As of this recording, he does still have his job, but it is up in question whether he's going to keep it. Because he said I have to admit,
I've never heard of him.
Well, he's from like one of the 80s sitcoms, like Saved by the Bell or something like that.
That's why I haven't heard of him.
So he's been in Hollywood. He's one of those guys who's just a character actor. And from what I understand, it's a simple fact that he is a nice guy, that he feels the need to apologize. Like, he didn't want to offend anybody, right? That's the Achilles heel of those of us who are, on the right, is that we don't like offending people. We just want to speak the truth. And if speaking the truth sometimes hurt people, the immediate response is to backtrack. But I think
Of course, it's
Go on.
it's human nature because I mean I was brought up Catholic. You don't want to offend people. You don't want to be hurtful to
No.
people. It's a human nature to be polite and to be kind and to be sympathetic or empathetic if you've never been in their situation. So what's he say here? He says, the comments I made were ignorant and insensitive. I now have a deeper understanding of how hurtful they were. So he realized that he hurt somebody, maybe, or he was just trying to save his job. I don't know. But so he apologized. Oh, I'm hurting you? Okay, sorry.
But who did he hurt? That's the thing. General
Yeah.
apologies don't count. If you're just doing I apologize to the universe for saying something that made... If somebody came up to him and said, listen, what you said hurt me, I'm sure it's fine. He goes, okay, yeah, I'm sorry what I said hurt you. That's fine. That is
Yeah.
a genuine apology to a genuine person. But just to apologize to the ether or the social justice warriors at large for the simple fact because somebody thinks somebody somewhere might be possibly hurt and or offended by this and it's wrong think and you can't get away with it.
Well,
you
it
can't
says
do
here
that.
on ABC News that after experiencing backlash online. Okay, so in other words, it's the usual trolls.
Yep.
And he saw that as a threat, perhaps, or perhaps genuinely saw that these people were hurt. And if I said something like what Mr. Lopez said on Candace Owens' show, I would say, well, tough nookies.
Yeah.
Tough nookies if you're offended by what I say. I don't say things to make you feel good. I say things because that's what I believe.
Well, no,
So
but
I'm
that's
not-
truth. That's reality. I'm sorry if reality offends you. That's
Yeah.
your problem. If you can prove me wrong, then go ahead. But 3-year-olds, Ben Shapiro had a great line. He goes, if I left my 3-year-old son alone for an hour, he'd be dead. But you're going to let a 3-year-old child decide that what their gender, which they don't even understand or have
No.
any notion of whatsoever at that age, to make that decision that's going to impact them for the rest of their lives and the complications and and their suicide rate is so high and you're just going to feed into that. Ari told me she was a mermaid the other day. She's 6.5. So they don't have concepts of reality. They don't know what it means. They don't know ramifications. That's why we don't let them sign contracts. That's why we don't let them smoke, drink, live on their own, do anything. A, because they physically can't, and B, because they're not mentally capable of doing those things. And the fact that saying something that obvious is considered dangerous because it's going to, of course, encourage bullying of 0.1% of the population that is transgendered is ridiculous. It's a witch hunt.
This transgenderism thing is unfortunately a fad.
It's a fad.
It's a victim fad that has piggybacked onto the attitude that people used to have towards homosexuals, because there was literal gay bashing going on, and not too long ago, which was reprehensible, of course. And they're trying to say, okay, well, I'm not gay, but I think I'm a woman, or I'm a woman who thinks there's a man, and so therefore I'm going to piggyback onto that victimhood and get treated specially and force people to do things that they don't want to do, or say things that they don't want to say. Like, for example, hire them or say that they're a woman when they're not. And that kind of thing is dangerous. That's the real danger. And not only that, as you say, and you correctly point out, of course, it's a denial of reality. But it's simply not a denial of the reality on the transgendered person to say they're one thing when they're physically not. It's a denial of reality to force that on a population, to say, to get along and say that there are 4 lights when there are only 5 or whatever. And that's the real problem. Like, if a transgendered person was a friend of mine, I would feel sympathy for that person.
Yep.
My God, how bad can it be for you, for example, as a man, to feel alienated in your body? That's a terrible thing for you to have to go through personally, and I sympathize with you. And maybe I would even say that if that person wanted me to address them by feminine pronouns, I'd probably do it, maybe to, I don't know, to placate them in sympathy and empathy.
Well, it's like Dr. Jordan
then again,
Peterson said, just to be polite.
Yeah, but then again, there's part of me of saying, well, maybe I shouldn't to feed it because it feeds into their fantasy. It feeds into their mental illness, which is what it is. It is
gender
mental illness.
dysphoria.
It's gender dysphoria, to put the term onto it, yes. But that doesn't stop our sympathy, much like Mario Lopez's sympathy, or empathy in this case, towards people who feel offended by him saying something, which, by the way, I would never apologize for that.
No.
Those people who think that a 3-year-old can
That's
set
child
their gender,
abuse.
That's abusive.
Yeah.
That is dangerous, and it should be criminal.
Yep.
It should be criminal. If any parent who is bringing up a boy and forcing them to be a woman and telling them that not a woman, a girl, or vice versa, girl to boy, and treating them in that kind of warped way, they should be seriously looked at by psychiatrists and the state for abuse.
Children don't understand the difference between reality and fantasy at that age. So are you going to let them, if they say they're a dolphin, are you going to take them down to the surgery and get them made into a dolphin? No, they don't understand that distinction between, I'm playing this, therefore it feels real to me, but it's not, because they're playing. And there's a progression in, I have 6.5-year-old twins. I see the progression as they get used to what's real and what's not, what's make-believe, and make that distinction. That is a very gradual process that happens over time. And your brain isn't fully functional until you're in your 20s to make decisions like that.
That is true, but you know something? I think a child just approaching the age of 10, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, around that age, have a full grasp of what's real and what is fantasy. I think that they understand when they're watching a cartoon that it's not real life. The problem is that when you're in your 40s and you can't identify reality, that's the real problem. It's not the kids.
I agree.
It's these people who think there's something and they're not. It's just like, remember the old movies, you get some guy visiting a psych ward and they're taken around and they're approached by somebody, and then the warden says, or the nurse says, oh, this is Jesus Christ. Or this person is Napoleon, right? Or this person thinks she's Cleopatra. That used to be the running meme at the time. Go back 30, 40, 50 years. Just look up some of the old movies and whatever. Because people didn't think that they were who they were. They thought they were somebody else. And it's the same with the transgenderism thing. Now, I think most of them are lying. They're absolute liars. Men thinking that they're women,
so
and
they
then
going
into the change rooms.
And go and compete with them in the track and field events and beat the crap out of them because they're men. And also, I think it's also a fad too, I think more for women, because or girls, there's just this idea of, oh, this makes me special. This gets me more attention because this is thrown in your face all the time. Like Victoria's Secret, I just saw it today, reported that they're going to have their first transgendered model. Victoria's Secret. Okay. Whatever. Like, why? To what purpose? Why would you do this?
It's just sad that the people out there, the elites, I'll call them the elites, because they're the people who run the networks, the people who run Hollywood, the people in politics, they're falling for it. They're falling for it. These are liars. They're being taken, with that select few who are actually gender dysphoric and having a problem and a tough time. Great, I hope they get some help. I think the vast majority of them are outright BSers. And are milking the system.
I think the elites know it's all a lie too, but it's a lie that serves their purpose. So there's a wink and a nod from both, and they let the people who are pretending to be transgender to get away with it, so that they can show how they're so supportive of this minority community that is subject to so much abuse and harassment and stuff, which never materializes ever. But it's all a political play and a social play, and it's just for victim points and for virtue signaling, and it's just disgusting. And the fact that people won't stand up and say there are only 4 lights, that was where the problem is. And I agree, that is it.
I watched a video recently of William F. Buckley Jr. of the firing line back in the 70s, I believe this one was, and he had on Charlton Heston. And I think the question to him was, is there any hope for Hollywood? Because it was such a leftist society. A cesspool, yeah. Such a leftist, and this is going back 40, 50 years, they had the same problem. To be in Hollywood, you have to toe the party line, which is to the left. Now, if you're a big box office like a Charlton Heston, you can say, from my cold, dead hands,
or
and
Clint
get
Eastwood.
away with it. Or Clint Eastwood,
Yep.
because you've already made your name, you're already so filthy rich that you don't care what
Doesn't
Hollywood
matter.
says, and you're still drawing in, you're still putting bums in seats.
Yep.
So they'll let you away with it. But this Mario Lopez guy or anybody lesser human, no, sorry, you're expendable. You toe the line, or you're gone. You're history.
It's a very unfortunate
Hasta la
state.
vista.
Baby. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Hollywood, if they're going to ever fix it, or if it's just going to be the Sodom and Gomorrah of our modern times forever, because it is with the stench of sexual predators and pedophilia and just this witch hunt with anything to do with the wrong think. I don't watch movies anymore because of this. It's because I can sense that there's all these things behind it. There's nothing new. There's nothing interesting. It's all regurgitated socialist propaganda, social justice warrior stuff. I'm just not interested anymore. And I feel sorry for people who... No, I take that back. I don't feel sorry for people who won't stand up for themselves, because they put the rest of us in greater risk, and they're not fixing the problem. They're part of the problem.
Yeah.
So, I recommend everybody tell the truth. There are 4 lights. We'll talk soon. Cheers.
If you've enjoyed this presentation, visit justrightmedia.org for more programming that's not right-wing, it's just right.